You wake up at 6 a.m. You commute an hour to work. You grind through 8, sometimes 10 hours. You skip lunch because there's a deadline. You come home exhausted, scroll through your phone for 30 minutes because your brain is fried, eat dinner, and collapse into bed. And at the end of the month, your bank account looks almost exactly the same as it did last month. Maybe a little less because your car needed new tires. Meanwhile, your college roommate who posts on Instagram twice a week is somehow buying a house. Your neighbor who consults from his laptop at coffee shops just bought a Tesla. And you're sitting there thinking, what am I doing wrong? I work harder than both of them combined. Here's the thing, you're not doing anything wrong. The game just changed, and nobody told you.
My name is Alex, and I spend way too much time thinking about why hard-working people stay broke while others seem to effortlessly build wealth. If you're someone who feels like you're doing everything right, working hard, being responsible, paying your bills, but still can't get ahead financially, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because what I'm about to show you is going to completely flip how you think about making money. Look, I need to say something that's going to sound controversial, but stick with me. Hard work is not the problem. It's that you're working hard at the wrong things. Let me show you what I mean with some actual numbers, because this is where it gets really eye-opening. The average American worker puts in about 1,800 hours per year. That's based on a standard 40-hour work week with 2 weeks of vacation. Now, let's say you're making $50,000 a year, which is roughly the median household income in the U.S. That means you're earning about $27.78 per hour. Here's the math. If you wanted to double your income using this model, you'd need to work 3,600 hours per year. That's 69 hours per week, every single week, with no vacation, no weekends off, no sick days. And here's the brutal truth. Even if you could physically do that, which you can't, by the way, because you'd literally burn out, you still wouldn't be wealthy. You'd just be exhausted and slightly less broke. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what about getting a raise or a promotion? Great question. According to a 2023 survey by Bankrate, the average raise in the United States is about 4.1%. So if you're making that $50,000 and you work your absolute tail off for an entire year, you might get an extra $2,050 before taxes. That's $170 a month. Not even enough to cover inflation, which averaged 4% that same year. This is where most people don't realize they're running on a hamster wheel that's going nowhere. Here's what changed in the economy over the last 30 years, and why your parents' advice doesn't work anymore. In 1990, if you worked hard at a good company, you got a pension, you got healthcare, you got job security. The company invested in you because they expected you to stay for 30 years. Your hard work directly translated into long-term security. Today, the average person changes jobs every 4.1 years, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Pensions basically don't exist anymore. Only 15% of private sector workers have access to one. And that loyalty your parents talked about, companies don't reward it. Studies show that people who stay at the same company for more than 2 years earn about 50% less over their lifetime compared to job hoppers. The game fundamentally changed. But here's what's crazy. Most people are still playing by the old rules. They're trading time for money in a system that's designed to keep them trading time for money forever. Look, I'm going to show you something that took me way too long to figure out. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Wealthy people don't work harder. They work differently. They understand one simple equation. Wealth equals value created times reach times leverage. Let me break that down, because this is where it gets really interesting. Value created is the problem you solve or the benefit you provide. Reach is how many people you can deliver that value to. Leverage is how you multiply your time and effort. But here's the problem. You're still trading time for money. If you get sick, you don't get paid. If you take a vacation, you don't get paid. You've hit a ceiling. Now, what if instead you created an online course teaching people how to do their own taxes for small businesses? You charge $200 for the course. You spend 100 hours creating it once. If 1,000 people buy it, you've made $200,000. If 10,000 people buy it, That's $2 million from the same 100 hours of work. That's leverage. Same value created, dramatically different reach, completely different outcome. Now you might be thinking, okay, but I don't have time to create a course or start a side business. I'm already working 50 hours a week just to pay my bills. And that right there is exactly the trap. Let me explain the psychology behind this, because this is what keeps people stuck. It's called the busy trap, and it's sneaky as hell. When you're working hard all the time, you feel productive. You feel like you're doing the right thing. Society rewards you for it. People say things like, "Wow, you're such a hard worker," or "I don't know how you do it." But here's what most people don't realize. Being busy is not the same as being productive. And feeling productive is not the same as making progress toward financial freedom. There's actually research on this. A study from Harvard Business School found that people who work more than 50 hours per week are significantly less productive per hour than people who work 40 hours. Your brain literally can't maintain that pace. You start making worse decisions. You miss opportunities. You're too tired to think strategically. And here's the really messed up part. When you're exhausted from working all the time, you don't have the mental energy to figure out a better way. You're stuck in survival mode, just trying to make it through the week. This is by design, by the way. The system benefits when you're too tired to question it. Let me show you something that's going to make you a little angry, but you need to see it. According to the Federal Reserve's 2022 survey of consumer finances, the top 1% of Americans hold about 32% of all wealth. The top 10% hold about 67% of all wealth. But here's what really matters. How did they get it? About 70% of wealthy people built their wealth through ownership. They own businesses. They own real estate. They own assets that generate income without their direct time input. Only about 30% built significant wealth through a high-income job alone. And those are usually people making $500,000 plus per year in specialized fields like medicine, law, or tech. For everyone else, the math just doesn't work. You cannot save your way to wealth on a median income. It's mathematically impossible when you account for inflation, taxes, and the basic cost of living. Let me show you the math on this because it's brutal. Let's say you make $60,000 per year. After taxes, let's say 25% effective rate, you're taking home $45,000. Average rent in the U.S. is about $1,700 per month. That's $20,400 per year. Food costs average about $550 per month for one person. That's $6,600 per year. Transportation, car payment, insurance, gas, maintenance runs about $700 per month, $8,400 per year. Health insurance for an individual averages $450 per month. That's $40,800 in basic expenses, leaving you with $4,200 per year to save. And that's if nothing goes wrong. So if hard work alone doesn't work, what does? Here's what I've learned from studying hundreds of people who actually built wealth. Not lottery winners or trust fund kids, but regular people who figured it out. There are really three paths. And the good news is you can start any of them right now, even if you're working full-time. Path number 1. Build leverage through skills. This is about developing high-value skills that you can monetize at scale. Things like copywriting, video editing, web development, graphic design, marketing. Skills that every business needs that you can deliver remotely and that aren't capped by time. Here's a real example. I know a guy who learned copywriting in his spare time over about 6 months. He started charging $500 to write sales emails for small businesses. Within a year, he was charging $5,000 per project and had more work than he could handle. 2 years in, he hired 2 other copywriters and took a percentage of their work. Now he makes about $250,000 per year and works maybe 20 hours a week. He didn't work harder than his old job. He worked smarter and built leverage. Path number 2. Build assets that generate income. This is the classic path. Real estate, dividend stocks, online businesses, digital products. The key is that these assets work for you even when you're not working. Here's the thing about assets. They require upfront effort or capital, but then they compound. A rental property generates income every month. A blog with ads generates income every day. A course you created generates income every time someone buys it. Look, I'm not saying this is easy. It takes time to build. But here's what's crazy. Most people spend 40 years working hard at a job and retire with almost nothing. If you spend even just 5 years building assets on the side while working your job, you can completely change your financial trajectory. Path number 3. Increase your earnings capacity. This is different from this is about strategically positioning yourself in high growth, high pay fields, and negotiating aggressively. According to Glassdoor, the average software engineer makes about $110,000 per year. The average teacher makes about $44,000. That's a $66,000 difference for the same amount of time worked. Both are hard jobs. Both require skill, but one pays 2.5 times more. Now, I'm not saying everyone should become a software engineer, but I am saying that if you're going to trade time for money anyway, you should be strategic about which fields you enter. And here's what most people don't realize. You can learn high-income skills without going back to school. Coding bootcamps take 3 to 6 months. Digital marketing certifications take a few weeks. Sales skills can be learned on the job. Alright, so here's what you actually do with this information. Because knowledge without action is just entertainment. Step 1. Audit your time. For the next week, track exactly what you do with your time. How many hours are you actually working? How many hours are you watching Netflix? Scrolling social media? Commuting? I'm not saying eliminate all rest. You need that. But most people have 10 to 15 hours per week they could reallocate if they were honest with themselves. That's 500 to 750 hours per year. That's enough to build a skill, start a side business, or create a digital product. Step 2. Choose your path. Pick one of those 3 paths I mentioned. Just one. Don't try to do all 3 at once. Don't try to learn 5 skills simultaneously. Pick the one that resonates most with your current situation and skills. If you're good at something that people pay for, start freelancing on the side. Build leverage through skills. If you have a little bit of capital saved up, research income-generating assets. Even starting with $5,000 in dividend stocks is a start. If you're willing to make a career change, research which fields are growing and paying well, and figure out the fastest path to entry. Step 3. Set a 90-day sprint. Here's what most people don't realize. You can make significant progress in just 90 days if you're focused. You don't need years. You need concentrated effort in the right direction. Set one specific goal for the next 90 days. Learn enough web development to build 3 websites for local businesses. Create and launch an online course. Apply to 50 jobs in higher-paying fields. Work on it every single day, even if it's just 30 minutes. Consistency beats intensity. Step 4. Track your progress financially. Here's something powerful. Start tracking your net worth monthly. Not just your bank account, your actual net worth. Assets minus liabilities. When you start seeing that number go up because of your new efforts, something clicks in your brain. You realize you're actually making progress. You're not just working hard, you're building something. Look, I want to be completely honest with you. This is harder than just showing up to a job and collecting a paycheck. It requires mental effort. It requires learning new things. It requires some risk. But here's the thing. Working hard at a regular job for 40 years and retiring broke is also hard. Actually, it's harder because you never get out. The question isn't whether you're willing to work hard. You're already doing that. The question is whether you're willing to work hard at something that actually moves the needle. And here's what makes me frustrated. So many people have the capability to change their financial situation, but they've been conditioned to believe that hard work alone is enough. That if they just keep their head down and grind, eventually they'll be rewarded. But the data doesn't support that. The math doesn't support that. The economy doesn't support that. What does work is understanding leverage. Understanding that your time is your most valuable asset, and you need to use it to build things that multiply your efforts. Here's the bottom line. Hard work isn't failing you because you're not working hard enough. It's failing you because you're working hard in a system that's designed to keep you running in place. The people who build wealth understand something fundamental. You can't trade time for money forever. Eventually, you run out of time. But if you can create value once and sell it many times, if you can build assets that generate income while you sleep, if you can develop skills that command premium prices, then you break free from that limitation. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not bad with money. You've just been playing a game with rules that guarantee you can't win. But now you know the real rules. Now you know what actually works. So the question is, what are you going to do about it? If this video helped shift your perspective on money and work, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and drop a comment letting me know which path you're going to focus on. I read every single one. And remember, working hard is necessary, but it's not sufficient. You need to work hard on the right things. See you in the next video.